Everybody. Well, look, this is pretty exciting. This is our very first live stream. I'm here with my partner in crime, Louie, and from Vinyl Latte, and we've got a great guest today, none other than Charles Kirmuss. So we're gonna get a few numbers built up in the room here, and then we're gonna fumble our way through this, aren't we, Louie? We're gonna do our best. Be gentle with us, because being a first one, we're just gonna roll with the punches and see where we go from there, aren't we?
Yeah, we're just gonna let it roll, guys. Really appreciate you jumping in, especially this being sort of our inaugural event here for the Audiophile Show. And I think we're touching on a subject today that is really, really relevant to record collectors that are looking to get the maximum out of their system. While we wait for everybody to join in and get settled and get their favorite cup of coffee or cocktail, depending on what time of the day or where you are in the world, I think, I think when I think about the evolution, Shane, of record cleaning, and we're going to talk about record restoration later, but when I think about the world of record cleaning, the dishwasher was like all the rave, and then and then people started getting into like vacuum cleaning, and now ultrasonic seems to be dominating the market, right? And everybody's curious about ultrasonic when it comes to record care and record maintenance. So I think this is a very relevant topic, and I'm super excited about our guest because everybody, I think, knows him as the man behind the machine, but he's got such an interesting life, man. This guy has done so much. I don't think people realize like the patents this guy has, the type of work he's done. So I'm super excited to pull him up and get him on here. Hopefully in a minute or two, we'll get Charles plugged in. But what's your thoughts, Shane, man?
Yeah, look, I agree. Charles is not just a pretty face, as they say in the movies. He's definitely done a lot of things prior to his record restoration system, and that's what this show is going to be about. The Audiophile Show is going to be us talking to industry people about what they've done and for you guys, our audience, to get to know the people behind the brands. That's really what we want this show to be about. We just don't want to interview about a thing they've done. We want this to be an opportunity for people to understand the brains behind the product, the evolution of the product, that what got the person to get to the point where this product was born. And we want you guys to be part of this. We want you guys to be able to ask your questions. We've got Drago in here, and Dan's a good and a big contributor on my channel. He's over there a lot. So g'day, Dan. It's great to see you here. And look, Rick's here as well. We do thank you all very much for joining us on this inaugural show. We're going to get to Charles in a second, but we just want to let a few numbers build up in the room. But this is what it's about. It's about the interview behind the interview. This is what we want to do. We want to do stuff that's not been done on YouTube before. We really want to get into the bones of the people behind the products. So you guys get to know the person, then you will of course want to know what they've done and why they have made the product they've made. So yeah, that's what this series is about. That's what we're going to do with it. We're going to get some crazy people in here. We want to get some other YouTube collaborators in here and talk to them. You and I are going to get on, aren't we, mate? And we're just going to, if we find something we want to have a chat about because we've got a bug in our rear end about this, or we don't like that, or we do like this, then we're going to come on and we're going to talk to you guys. We're going to do it at the same time. And we'll just let you know in our socials on our YouTube channel when we're going to do a show. But it'll be the same bat time, same bat channels, and we will go from there, and we'll cover everything and anything, including any topics you guys might like to put to us. So that will be really interesting.
Well, Charles will be here in about 30 seconds, so let me just share this before we get started. This is meant to be, if you follow Shane or I's channel for a little while now, we used to have the Audiophile series where we used to have the opportunity to invite the eventers and industry experts to the show to kind of talk about a little bit behind them, not just their product, right? This was never meant to be a sales pitch of a product, but about their passion, how they got started, kind of the man or the lady behind the technology and the brands that you know and love. And the reason we flipped it to the show is because so many of y'all had some great questions that we just never had we didn't even think of them. We didn't even say, hey, that's such a great question. Why didn't we ask that? So that's why we're going live now. So you have a chance to interact and ask your questions. So don't be shy. Go ahead and participate. I'm one of those people, I'm going to be honest. I'm like most probably the viewers on right now. You watch, but you don't interact, right? You just kind of like listen and you watch. We're asking you to interact. That's why we did this. That's why it's a live show, guys. So hopefully don't be shy. Bust out those comments and, come join us here. What do you think, man? We getting ready for Charles?
Yeah, I think let's bring the man in the room himself and we'll kick this off.
All right, it sounds good. Hopefully Charles is out there. We'll find out here in a moment. There he is.
Presto changeo. Hi, everybody around the world on Shane's and Louie's channels. Oh, this is great. Thanks for inviting me, guys.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you here, mate.
Such a pleasure to have you here, Charles, man. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Where are you dialing in from, if you don't mind me asking? Where are you based out of?
Well, I'm here in my home office in Westminster, Colorado. Oh, about 15 to a 30-minute drive out of Denver, depending on traffic. And our traffic roads, a lot of them are tolls, and they're all made by Australian companies. So they're taking all the money if you're on the toll road here. But they're great. They're the only roads that have no cracks for years. So that's where I live, if I'm home.
Very good.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'll invite, I'll say hello to Steve. Steve the Hard's here, and Steve is another great contributor on my channel as well. And I know he's probably watching Louie's channel now, and hopefully that is the case. Do yourself a favor, mate. Get over there, and if you're not subscribed, because Louie's pretty damn good at what he does. And we've got all kinds of people in the room starting to roll in here. So thank you all very, very much for supporting us on this first live show. We're going to get to questions. We've got a bit of a background. My wife seems to be a bit of a star here. Have you noticed that, Louie? As well. She's already popped in and said hello, and she's at work. So, darling, what are you doing? You should be at work.
There you go. Hey, I just want to address this. For the first show, I don't think it's going to be a call-in, guys, but we'll probably end up making that happen in the future. Since this is Shane and I's first live show, we already have enough logistics and stuff going on in the background to try to make this happen. But I can tell you what we can do. If you go ahead and put your comments in the chat, we'll go ahead and pull them up. That's how we can interact today. But great recommendation, Steve. Appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome. Well, what do you say? We've got a few questions that we've put together for Charles, Louie, and I'm happy. Do you want to kick the first one off and get in there and let's put this man in the hot seat and let's find out what's underneath his skin and what makes him tick.
Yeah, Shane. Well, thank you for passing over the mic. For me, one of the things that I love about these series is really getting behind the person behind the brand. But Charles, what's interesting about you specifically, you kind of are the brand. And you also have a sidekick that I see everywhere. And I have to ask, mate, what is the deal with Sal the Rabbit? I need to know. We need to know what the deal is, because every post that you have in social media, it's always Sal. Sal's flown the world. He's been in cockpits. He's been in fancy restaurants. He's been at concerts. What is the deal with Sal the Rabbit? It has nothing to do with Audiophile, but I am just curious. I'll get out to know what's the deal with the rabbit, man.
Hey, Drago, greetings. Well, first of all, I was told by my better half, no rabbits in the video. You guys wanted to know what the story is. So when we first started Kirmuss Audio, I came out with this logo here. If you guys can see it, there's a nice disco girl. Her name was Skip, and she's actually this is in the day when we called it cleaning. We still said restoration, that we didn't really understand what we were actually doing. We learned a lot. So I'll share that with you as the time comes or people ask. So that was the logo, and it was on every machine. And we sold a ton of machines in our first year. And my wife decided for my birthday in October, what do we give Charles, who has more tchotchkes, and you'll see some of them here, than Carter has pills, little liver pills. What do I get him? Well, she got me Sal Rabbit. It's a Vandering hare out of the IKEA company. And basically it became the mascot. It used to be at all our trade shows. And for Christmas, we got Sally Rabbit. So Sal and Sally sometimes travel together. And Sal actually is very good when I travel overseas to Australia. I sleep with the rabbit.
Oh, yeah, me.
It's great for jet lag. It really is. And now someone sent me a YouTube thing where actually people are saying people need some comfort. Well, that's where we got Sal from. And I'm also a volunteer first responder, now retired. And we did two things with the bunnies. Number one is we gave them out at the shows. When we saw young children follow their moms and fathers, primarily the husband is always there with the wife. So the wife would get a bunny, and so would the child. And when I arrive on a scene as first responder and I'm first on scene, while the ambulance and fire departments are showing up, I have some bunnies in the back that I give to the kids that are in the car that's being involved in a motor vehicle accident. And that's where the rabbits go. Unfortunately, the IKEA Corporation has decided to get rid of the Vandering hare. They now have junk rabbits. I'm going to have to copy this because we still have people that want a bunny. And we emptied, my business partner in the UK, Kevin Jackson, got the last 40 or 50 rabbits from IKEA Europe, and I bought the last 100 from IKEA here. So we only have one left that we can give away. Yeah. So that's the money. And now Audiophile said, geez, I'm buying a $1,000 system. I don't want a bunny. So we came out with the current Kirmuss logo here on the back. And now people want the bunny stickers. So we got a cult. So that's the story.
Well, a question for you, Charles. Now, if we've got a daddy rabbit and a mummy rabbit, are we expecting any babies anytime soon?
I would love that, because otherwise I'd have to go to a factory overseas somewhere and make more bunnies, but it hasn't happened yet.
Very good. Well, that is very interesting and cute as anything behind you there. I mean, I now I see, I can see what you're talking about. There is definitely a boy and a girl there, and you know what rabbits are like. I won't say any more than that.
Yep, they're eyeing my garden in the backyard right now. The vegetables aren't ready yet. Oh,
right. Okay. Well, we've got some other great people in here. We've got Carmine's in here too. Again, a great contributor to, and he's we see Carmine quite a bit, and he's a pretty awesome guy with some great questions as well. So no doubt he'll be coming up with some questions. Now I note that Dan has asked a question here, and it's and so we might as well just kick into some of these questions, because our questions will be some fill-in questions when we get to them. But you guys are the reason we're doing this show. So we should probably jump straight into this. And Dan is asking Charles about the discovering record restoration process and talking about that. So it's all yours, my friend.
Well, it was very interesting. Those of you who may know me, I'm really not from the audio industry. During my high school years, I worked Bill Layton Audio and Audio Shop, a Macintosh dealer in Montreal, from 71 to 74 every weekend or Friday nights. And back in the 60s, 1966, 67, I used to build my own audio equipment. And the way I got into this restoration business was totally by accident. Since 2006, I'm a volunteer with Global Sources trade shows. They're the people that put on the largest electronics show twice a year in Hong Kong. And since 2006 till COVID, I was a speaker there twice a year. I've been to South Africa, Brazil, doing also trainings on how to help foreign buyers maneuver through Asia, primarily China, and how to avoid some of the pitfalls. And one of the folks in the audience came up to me and said, we just bought the Rogers BBC company, and we would like you, this is the Hong Kong group, we would like you to represent Rogers BBC globally. And I accepted the challenge. And they said, we know that, you know, you're a nerd and whatever. They found out I'm building tube amplifiers and a radio station, a TV station when I was in the teens, if not in the 8 and 9-year-old arena. So my first trade show was in, here we go, there, 2014. Anne Bisson was in the Munich high-end show. She was singing with the Lawrence Audio folks, and I was there with my Rogers BBC speakers looking at what was going on. I met Anne. I became the Lawrence Audio representatives. She was representing, obviously, and singing for Lawrence from Taipei. And I saw an ultrasonic machine sitting next to me being sold for $9,000. And I saw a vacuum system being sold on the other side of my booth for about the same money. And, you know, and I will say I had a VPI 16.1. I bought it back in the 70s. And I said, geez, you know, I use ultrasonics to clean circuit boards. We manufacture homeland security equipment. I invented digital video audio recording in mobile and fixed applications for the surveillance industry back in the 80s, back in 89. And I said, there's something wrong. You know, an ultrasonic should be $400, $500, $600, you know, not $9,000. So long story short, this was a challenge. I gave up on the Rogers BBC speakers because the Chinese could not figure out how to laminate birch plywood. Normally, if you take a veneer, you need to oppose it by 90 degrees and glue it. Otherwise, you have problems. So 15 of the speakers sold in Montreal in heating season and winter, they all cracked. So I ate 15 speakers. The manufacturer didn't want to give anything. So I said, let's take a look at what this ultrasonic and vacuum cleaning systems are. So I got both machines, brought them back over to the States, didn't fall apart in United or get stolen. And I said, they're not doing anything. I also took my vacuum machine out and I said, I don't hear anything, you know, acoustically. And using a spectrum analyzer, I didn't see any difference either. As a matter of fact, I saw degradation of the system. Or of the sound and the sound stage and the imagery. And the more I played the record, some of the pops that were hidden were back again. So that's where it started back in 2014, where I said, we got to figure this out. I did not want to go into this industry and go and sell a washing machine. I just wanted to find out for myself what's going on here, you know. And I still own the equipment that I earned working in Montreal, my tape directs, my tape reel-to-reel Akai 747, the TC 1800, the Nakamichi Dragon. I still have all that still being used. So to cut to the chase, I'm fortunate I have a thermal vac chamber where I can put materials in. It's a big microwave that I can turn temperature up and I can turn humidity up. And I can do what we call advanced staging. You'll see there are a lot of patents behind here and whatever. So I'm not necessarily in the audio industry, but what I did is I bought 6 Hall & Oates records, all the same pressing and whatever, put them in this machine, turned all the temperature up, 97% humidity, 97 degrees Fahrenheit, let everything cook for 3 months. I did a recording before, both audio and electronically spectrum, took it out, measured, saw a big difference. We accelerated aging. We had fungus growing on records. So put it back in for another 3 months, took it out. Then by then I had 5 different machines. So I then followed the manufacturer's instructions, whether it be an ultrasonic, whether it be a spin clean, manual, and did the cleaning. Put them back in for 3 months. We had more stuff growing on there. Took the measurements, put it in another 3-month cycle. And then finally, in between all of this, I then said, why are we not improving the soundstage? Why are we not improving the output of the cartridge, the dynamic range, the timbre, the harmonics, the resonances, where music lies?
Yep.
So I'm fortunate by going to Japan, fortunate by going to Taiwan for other businesses, went to Denon, went to Sony Records, learned about records, and learned about this miracle thing called a stamper. There we go.
Yeah.
I learned about this is what we want to play. Everything else is immaterial.
Yeah.
So I learned how records are made, and I found out by going to the University of Colorado down the street, their engineering department, their chemistry department, and learned that PVC records repel water, and water, cleaning solutions and whatever, the droplets are larger than the record's groove. So that's why we can't do anything. And what we're doing when we are cleaning, we are doing surface cleaning, but we're not removing the three elements that we've discovered that we need to remove.
Yeah,
so,
down in the groove.
Down in the groove. So it's actually three things. The first thing is whatever we use to air or vacuum dry on a record. Records that are, Kirmuss word, restored come out dry. No vacuum, no air drying. Yeah. So we have a film. We then also have a film that's created over time by a record being stuck in a record sleeve for a week, 10 years, 20 years, 70 years, 100 years. The majority of scratches that you see on a record surface are scratches not necessarily in the plastic, but on the outgassing and the breathing of the plasticizer coming out of the record and being stuck in the sleeve. And PVC sleeves do the same. So that's a film that we also need to remove somehow. And if I equate this film, and that's a recent discovery about a year now, where after restoration, there are no more scratches. So it's your new car smell. You smell the new car. It's all the plastics are exhaling, and the film on your windshield is what we see on the record. So that had to be removed. And then obviously the record has to pop out of the press. If it doesn't pop out of the press, it looks like this. Forget about the chip here. I'm just going to move. There we go. It looks like this. It's being pried out. Why? When the record is being manufactured, it's seeing two stampers compress a piece of plastic. And the plastic gets squeezed. 3 minutes later, it comes out. And like Michael Fremer said when we first started on our first show in 2017, there's no such thing as a release agent. We don't see PAM being sprayed onto the stamper to allow the record to pop out in 3 or 4 minutes. Of course not. It comes out and surfaces out of this piece of plastic. So long story short, we created a system based on understanding that water, with or without a soap in it, is repelled by the record. The droplets of water or liquids and cleaning solutions are larger than the groove, so you can't get in the groove.
Yeah.
So how do we get into that? So that's where, again, going to the university library. I don't like internet. A lot of the stories on ultrasonics, even by so-called experts, are incorrect. So I found out how to change the charge of the record to be opposite to that of the water. That then allows me to use cavitation, where bubbles rise, they implode, they're now drawn to the record, and they vacuum out, they suck out through a plasma action, a plasma wave, if you want to call it. Some people term that, it's really not correct, but a lot of the savants are saying that. But we're vacuuming things. And you just can't put a record in a machine and let it sit there for 5 minutes or 3 minutes and a green light says it's ready, we've dried it for you. We need the charge that I found that works gets washed off. I need to use a spray and I need to use a brush to change the charge of the record to be opposite to that of water.
Yeah. All right. So Charles, let me double click on that if you don't mind, because the big thing that always people say is water's bipolar. So how do you change the charge?
Number one, water droplets or water is a dipole. Okay, it's a dipole. And if you consider, for example, a glass rod, a glass rod has no charge. I use this example in speaking to elementary and high school students that I've been asked to come and talk about this nerd that's gone into this crazy business with this washing machine. Julian from Margulis would love that. Yeah, this restoration system. Well, I can take a silk cloth and I rub that glass rod, and now I induce a positive charge. So the proof is I now bring that rod to a faucet of water. Without inducing a charge, the water goes straight down. By using a silk cloth and now charging that glass rod, now the water is attracted to the glass rod. So you can do that in your home. So here,
okay. Well, let's get.
So to just finish, this is a simple charge tester. I can test the charge of water, which is minus 0.098763 kilovolts, and the charge of a record, which is minus 7876 whatever kilovolts.
Mm.
They repel each other. Change the charge of the record. My record now is plus 0.763 kilovolts. And as the record spins in our machine, that's why, unfortunately, you need to go in and out to remove all these layers. The charge goes back to what it was before. So that's what taught me about what we need to do to ultrasonic technology to clean, in my case, restore a record, because we're actually going down.
So I guess some of that secret sauce that we're talking about here, without giving any IP away, is that the difference here is we need to have a negative charge on either the medium or what's going into the medium, and the other's got to be positive, so that we get an attraction that can start that process of getting the deep cleaning into the groove happening. Is that right?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And my industry peers really aren't interested in the work that you need to do. I mean, we need to go through all these layers in and out of the machine 3 or 4 times. The record comes out virtually dry, as you guys can contest and know, but people want convenience. I take a look at it. If someone has a $3,000 stereo system or a $300,000 stereo system, doesn't it make sense to do a little extra work on maybe your $200 record now to play this? So that's one thing that I learned. The other is about frequency. Very, very confusing. Everyone forgets that we have 3 levels. Remember, we have whatever coating is on the record from whatever you air or vacuum dry. We have the outgassing of the plasticizer, amplified by the record being stuck in a sleeve.
Yeah.
Heaven forbid a PVC sleeve outgassing as well. So how do we accomplish removing these materials? Well, if we take a look at ultrasonics, what happens is we need to clean an oil, right? It's the film. The first 2 layers, top down, it's a film. 25 kilohertz is the right frequency for it. Why? We don't have a lot of detail that we're trying to remove. Remember, we're trying to remove the oil, okay?
Yeah.
So I need something that's close to 25 kilohertz. What are we trying to remove next to those films? We're trying to remove dirt, fungus, dander, particles, whatever. They're usually between 3 and 5 microns in size, okay? So I need to be around 35 kilohertz to be able to remove both the oil and the particles. But it's in reverse order. My contemporaries, we're going to do 120 kilohertz. 120 kilohertz is used to remove submicron materials, bacteria. My needle ain't hitting bacteria. It's not hitting it. It's used to clean substrates when we're building silicon chips and whatever. It's used for endoscopic, how should I call it? endoscopic cameras and whatever. So I don't want Shane's DNA when I visit his doctor in Australia and I get the camera shoved up you know where. Okay, so that's what it's for. But people say, yes, like J.R. Beauclair is a great guy. We work together between alignment of the cartridge and the tone arm and playing the stamper. We have submicron detail, but you cannot get to the submicron detail without being able to first remove those coatings.
Well, in fact, we've had JR on our previous our audiophile series. So JR is also a friend of ours, and look, there's another couple of questions here which I want to get to. So we want to try and roll through these.
It's for you guys. It's for you guys. You know, I'm there for you.
So Steve's asking a really good question too here about cavitation can cause erosion. How do we manage this? So is that something we can talk about, Charles? What's your feedback?
I love that. Is he a submariner by chance, or a naval officer, or a captain of a master mariner like my father was? We have cavitation that occurs on propellers. Anyone has a boat, a pleasure boat or whatever, you see pits and whatever. We need to understand what we're trying to do. Okay, what we have is basically here. I have here. I got my props, guys.
Here's something he prepared earlier.
There we go. Here. There we go. So this is what we're dealing with. Okay, this is a tank of water. Okay, and to answer your question, by the way, no, we are not destroying a record using cavitation. There are a couple of caveats to that, which we'll talk about. But this is a tank of any ultrasonic. Underneath, we have, you can call them speakers, they're actually transducers, and they're driven. Just like an audio system, we have 25 kilohertz that I mentioned before, which is cavitation that creates a proper size bubble for me to remove oil. So it's an ultrasonic generator, or it's an audio amplifier. Consider it that. 45 kilohertz, 35 kilohertz, what they do, they create waves, and you have uneven and even waves depending as you go up to the surface of the water in any ultrasonic machine's tank. So we have violent cavitation. You can put an aluminum foil sheet into a ultrasonic, 40 kilohertz ultrasonic, for example, 45 kilohertz ultrasonic, and it will tear the aluminum foil apart. Not dimple it. It will tear it if it's a real ultrasonic. Okay, so we need to consider frequency. So the higher you go in frequency, the smaller the bubble size, but the more intensity. I'll throw a number out. 35 kilohertz, I'm doing 510 miles an hour. 45 kilohertz, I'm doing 110 miles an hour. Okay, they're actually kilometers per hour. So there is a measurement. Okay, so not only do you need to take a look at the frequency of ultrasonic of what you're trying to clean, but also you need resonance. You need to be able to, if you want, temper the collapsing bubbles. So the layman's way is, here's an aluminum foil record, and you see even cavitation from the edge of the record to the dead wax area. Okay, and to get into that also, we use, to answer your question and move on to the next, Mr. Fremer didn't believe me that a NASA test, I worked on a space shuttle in 1978, and we used 6 foot by 4 foot aluminum sheets to prove cavitation. So this is cavitation meter number 1 that I bought for Mr. Fremer. You see it on some of our educational slides. It's a $9,000-$10,000 device. He said it's a cattle prod, not acceptable. Okay, so
that sounds like Fremer. Some Fremer would say, yeah.
So we bought a $28,000 cavitation meter. That with its prod. There we go. Bar. By the way, this is fun on the floor. I'm glad we don't have a real rabbit running around here. But this is the prod.
Live television.
This is the prod. And what happens is I can plot X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, the energy in the tank.
Yep.
So this here proves that, to answer your question, 40 kilohertz or less, safe. Don't ionize your record 40 kilohertz and more, because you're going to tear it apart. Because what you're doing is you're now changing the charge of the record to accept that violent cavitation. We had one manufacturer that had 40 kilohertz machine, and 46 kilohertz machine. It ruined 800 and some odd records. The manufacturer disappeared and is now back with a 26 kilohertz machine. Wrong frequency. So no, you're not going to destroy the record at all.
We have thank you, Charles. We do have some more questions coming in. We got one from Steve asking, how many plays can you get from a record before you start to notice degradation in sound quality?
Very good.
Great question.
If you send over to me, I'm on emails, charles@kirmussaudio.com. There are certain people in YouTube that have played records for 1,000 spins using a Crosley ruby red piece of plastic needle, and has not affected the record whatsoever. Not at all. Not at all. The footprint that you have, a record's groove, here we go. Another prop here. There we go. There. A record's groove looks like this. There we go. There. So basically, we're 6 microns on the bottom. Okay, the RIA standard is a U shape. 6 microns on the bottom. And then we have 35, 45, 50 microns on the top and the middle. It moves with the music. It's not linear. Okay, if you take a inexpensive microscope, you'll see that there's a little wave in there. It goes with the music. So our needles are sub-micron, or not sub-micron. Yeah, they are sub-micron, elliptical or conical. So you are not going to, with the contact area that you're not going to go and eat your record apart. You're not. Okay. Yes, with those ruby reds and whatever, because now the coefficient of friction is so high, and you're now on the surface, not necessarily in the middle, certainly not on the bottom. That's when we see damage. As a matter of fact, I have with me, we're going to answer the questions. This isn't the Kirmuss show. This is your show. But I got a car record player, and it uses a cheap needle, and it spins a 45 RPM record. And guess what? There's a little pan underneath that picks up the black dust.
Oh, dear me. That's a snow plow. Look out. Now.
It's in my Corvair. I took it out just to show you guys.
Well, look, and we will keep rolling, because one of the questions we're getting asked on several occasions here is all about, why is an ultrasonic machine? Let's just talk about yours, Charles. Why are they so loud? Why are they loud?
My ultrasonic machine isn't loud, because I'm using a frequency of 35 kilohertz with a 70 kilohertz resonance, which is air pressure that evens up the cavitation. You unplug my motor, it's just bzzz in the background. The ones that you hear are the ones that are 25 and 26 kilohertz. These are the machines that are identified. They look like basins that are metal, like a stainless steel or aluminum cabinet. You need earmuffs or industrial isolation headphones, because they're very loud. And remember, I mentioned an ultrasonic really is a stereo, or it's a sound system. You have a generator, which is the amp. You got a frequency, and then afterwards, you either hear it or you don't. So if you hear a noisy ultrasonic, first, it's used for cleaning metal parts, and always use an industrial protective head protection device or earbuds. Yeah, and you will not hear 35 kilohertz per se. You will hear the collapsing of the bubbles as they rise, they implode, and they're amplified a bit in the tank. So you will not. You will hear a little buzzing sound, because there is a buzz, but it isn't a 26 kilohertz audio frequency.
Okay. Have you got something you might like to ask, Louis?
Yeah, I'm soon as I can get over to it. Here we go. We got another one in here. Charles, looking for a recommendation on a vegan alternative to the silk cloth. Do you have any recommendations?
I'm trying to understand the question. The silk cloth that I talked about was basically to induce a charge, okay, into a glass rod. A vegan, I have no idea. Is that a trick question?
It may be. Maybe we need a little bit more clarity in the chat. Yeah.
I mean, okay, so we've touched on the machine a little bit here. Let's get back to the genesis of what these shows are all about, and we really appreciate you guys typing in your questions. This is what this is all about. It's us bringing our audience into our guests so that they can answer questions without notice, and sometimes they go well and sometimes they don't. That's live television. That's the fun of the whole thing. But Charles, let's talk a little bit more about the genesis of Charles Kirmuss, where it all came from, where it started. Let's get our audience to understand a little bit about what got you to where you are now, starting from the early years.
I was a nerd. I was a nerd. I think I'm still the only high school student in all of Canada, if not all of North America, that in high school was exempt for 5 years of phys ed. I remember in 1971, Mr. Kowalski, our phys ed teacher, going up to Mrs. Schultz, our principal, after 2 weeks and say, Charles can't dribble a basketball. He can't kick a football. He's good on the pommel horse. He certainly won't go more than 10 feet up on the ropes. Give him the keys to the electronics projectionist room. Have him handle all the films for projectors and cassettes and whatever we had in those days. And give him 68% on his high school note. So it was the only mark that I had that was 68. Everything else was 90 plus, if not 99. But I was lucky. In Montreal, we had my classmates were playing football, soccer in America, outside at -40°C, which equals -40 Fahrenheit, in the snow, in shorts, and I had an office with a couch and a coffee maker and a tea boiler. So, but going back, being the nerd, I started building tube amplifiers back in 1965-66. So I was barely 10 years old. I built my own speakers. I asked my dad at Christmas when I was 8, 9 years old, get me a drill. I still have the Black & Decker drill. The next year, give me a jigsaw. I got a jigsaw. Next year, we were very first generation Canadian. My parents came from Latvia. We didn't have much. I never had anything that I did not get. We didn't go to restaurants except the Woolworths cafeteria once a month. No movie theaters, no baseball, hockey games, whatever. A $30 tool or $15 tool. So I started building things. And in high school, built an illegal radio station, illegal television station. I got in trouble in college making double-sided electrical cords. So when we pull the fire alarm and the fire alarm goes off on the 5th bell, every floor during exam period, we put the 2 male plugs across the aisle, cross list them, and blow all the breakers on all the floors. So nerds rule. As a matter of fact, I became CEO of Garda Technology, and 12 years later, what happened was all of a sudden, a phone call comes in, and it's the sergeant from my college, and they're asking for me. And I say, oh, very good. They want a security survey. So I went back to Vanier College in Montreal, like 15 years later. Captain Vio was there. Sergeant Breton were still there, the security guards. And they said, Charles, we want you to do a security survey. Well, I had my first beer in 1977 with my friend Alain. He's watching tonight. In a boîte à chansons, French Canadians, let's sing and dance in downtown Montreal. So now he's able to drink a beer 12 years later. So we went across to the tavern, and I said, well, why do you choose me for your security company or a survey? We know everything that you did, making hydrogen, blowing it up in the student mall, your shenanigans with the electric. Who else better to protect you? So that became an interesting sales tool. So moving along, here. My wife calls this the museum here. Here there's an interesting shortwave radio here. You asked about me. This was 1966. I had that in my house. As a matter of fact, here's a picture in 1972 with that same radio set.
Wow,
nice hairdo.
Charles.
Nice hairdo. So I was a shortwave listener through elementary school and building audio equipment, and then obviously then that led to ham radio. So all my ham radio equipment is still here from 1967,
Wow.
70, all there, all Yaesu, all vintage. We did some work for GPS products for ICOM, so I have one of the top of line ICOM radios there.
Awesome.
But this is the museum. I got a lot of stuff, and I met a lot of people in my career. And the fun part was working on the space shuttle in 1978. So I was 22 years old, and that's where I learned about ultrasonic cleaning, which has come to haunt me now in my professional career here, selling the Kirmuss machine since 2017, because Fremer said there's no such thing as aluminum foil tests. So in Canada, we did the Canadian Space Arm, the Canadarm, and I was a test integration technician there. And here we go. This is a picture of Kirmuss. There we go, in 1978, in front of the Anik E satellite.
Wow.
There we go. Nice mustache. And this was actually a Polaroid. We weren't allowed to take cameras in. We used Polaroids with oscilloscopes. So I stole the engineering Polaroid and took a picture, and it's still here.
Fantastic.
So that's kind of getting involved in hobbies. And in those days, Shane and Louie, we had Radio Shack, we had Heathkit.
Yeah.
My son's the best gift I ever got from my son was Christmas, maybe 5 years ago. A green T-shirt, military, says "nerd." That's for me, and "son of nerd" for my son. So anything I did, all these patents up here, it's people that know me, I share my enthusiasm. I like to look underneath the hood. Is it a 4-cylinder? Is it an 8-cylinder? Is it gas? Is it diesel? I ask questions. And when I was working at Bill Layton Audio Shop in Montreal, 71 to 76 or 74, I should say, I met Dr. Watts from Disc Preener. Well, he taught me about cleaning brushes. His patent expired. Guess what I recreated? A 10-micron brush to get into that small groove. Not one of those 35-micron brushes that you buy that do nothing. So I had peers. I met the engineers from Quad. I met Mr. Nakamichi, and the salespeople in the store and the owners. They taught you. So here I am. Now I do a lot of sponsoring. I love Anne Bisson and Danielle Jacques. You see them at all the audio shows. Hopefully, Shane, you see them down in Australia. But on Friday nights during school, after school, I'd walk from my house with my friend Robert Kachuga. Ended up at Heathkit at 6 o'clock at night. Ended up at Sonar, which is Filtronic, owned by Danielle Jacques. I did not know that at the time, looking at all their focals and whatever. Then took the subway down, saw the Radio Lawrence, the shortwave radio guy with Grundig and whatever, the Audio Center, then worked at Bill Layton Audio, Then before closing time, went over to the audio shop. Audio shop, by the way, in Montreal in those days was the engineering lab for speakers for Macintosh. So when the store closed 9:30, we're upstairs. The boys are drinking all of their stuff, and we're just drinking Coke or Pepsi or whatever. So I've had a wonderful exposure to all of these people that took you in. We want young kids to get into this.
Yeah.
You know,
and I think that's also, I mean, getting off the topic and on this, that's part of the reason why I think Louis and I have created our channels. And I like to, I mean, I've been in this industry in one form or another, from a music collector through to the sorts of things that I've done in the industry for the best part of 40 years. I'm a 54-year-old guy, and I started listening to music pestering my mum to buy records when I was 12. So it's more than 50 years, and 40 years. And it comes from a love of wanting to share the knowledge back. And I see that in you too, Charles. It's because people can't know until they know. And I like to think that what I try to do is get that knowledge out to people, to educate them so they don't make the mistakes that a lot of us have made, getting to where we've got to. And if we can do that, if I can do that, I guess the older you get, the more I like to give back to the industry as opposed to taking from it. And that's what's been important for me. I know Louis the same.
So important. Yeah, Shane, I want to build right off what you said, because it's so important, because there's so much great knowledge out there right now inside of this world. But a lot of it is, I mean, I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm sorry if it offends anybody, but a lot of the generation is becoming a lot older. They're going towards retirement and everything. And there's so much wealth of information and a hungry new audience coming into this, right? There's been a reason it's vinyl latte, right? We keep hearing about vinyl revival and a resurgence, but actually audiophile stuff, there's a resurgence for that. And people are now getting into really nice home theater systems, really nice 2-channel audio systems, getting into nice DACs. It's not just of records. I know we're talking about record restoration here today, but there's so many new folks that are passionate about this hobby. We definitely need that knowledge transfer. And what I feel, this is just me passionate, we need to support the local hi-fi shops, because that's where you get that knowledge transfer. There's great to buy online. They're convenient. You could do a lot of great research there, but man, support your local, because those guys have, to Charles's point, just decades worth of knowledge that they're willing to share with you. You just need to go spend the time there.
I saw a question that came in. What's the oldest record that I've restored? Not necessarily a record. The Library of Congress, I'm disruptive. I've proven that you don't use any chemical on any recorded media unless you've checked with what the media you're cleaning is made out of, and whether the chemicals are aggressive to PVC vinyl. Okay, if you have machines that have pumps, whether they are affected by neoprene and rubber. And here are record cylinders. Okay, John Levin is a large collector in the States of these. He's part of the ARSC, American Record Society of Collections. And I've been working on how to use ultrasonics to restore records. And there are 30, 40, 50,000 of them over at the Library of Congress, and they gave up. Because what they were doing is, here, if you take a look at, this is a pretty clean one, but you do not see the grooves. They were playing the cylinder with 30, 40 grams and cracking them. So they gave up. And these have chants of Indians recorded with the Edison horn by vibrating the needle and then creating the sound vibrations on the cylinder. So 3 out of the 5 different types of cylinders I can now restore. And everyone thought that the fungus among us is Mr. Fremer's great line. The fungus among us, this isn't fungus. Discovered is these have cotton inside. These have cotton. There we go. There. These have cotton inside. Obviously, someone put tissue in here. These have cotton that were glued into this cardboard can. Just like a record outgasses, what happens when you have a cylinder in here for 150 years? It coats your cylinder. It is not fungus eating the cylinder.
Yeah, right.
So, one of our colleagues from the Radio Club of America, Professor Emeritus Jim Breakall, just sent a little note. And he said, again, what's the oldest that you've done? Well, with the Radio Club of America, we went and visited on our annual banquet to KDKA Radio in Pittsburgh. KDKA is the oldest commercial broadcasting company, celebrating their 100th anniversary when COVID hit. The year prior, we visited their transmitter site. And I, Mr. Walkabout Anywhere, I did a walkabout, guys, in Australia. I know what that is.
Very good.
I went downstairs in the leaky transmission site and I found 10 or 20,000 of these transcript records. Okay.
Right.
And I begged Jeff Grazzi, the station manager, please, I need one. This was, I think, in 2017. I need one. I need one. Why do you need one? I'm making a record restoration machine. I need one. I chased him through the whole visit. He finally gave me this. So for those of you that don't know what happened back in the 60s, we, during the nights, had maybe a guy answering the phone at the radio station. We had a phone and a direct line over at the transmission site, some 20, 30 miles away, whatever. And they played these records. These records were commentaries that were recorded during the day. So the commentators are all in bed at night.
Yeah.
Well, if you take a look, there's some nicks on the back. These were using aluminum foil. There we go. Here, there we go. Aluminum foil.
Oh, yes.
And then coated with lacquer or shellac. And you can only play them 5 times. So by chance, I got this. It says Les Rollins' editorial Unfair to WQED was recorded March 15th, 1962. Not very old. It's a historical document by chance. Insured for $200,000 US.
Wow.
Because this talks about the Griffin Act, where we were going to prohibit the funding of public radio in America. It's a valuable document picked out of these 10 or 20,000 of them. And you'll see it was played on 315 and 316.
Yep.
So it was played also, obviously, after it was recorded. So there's 3 playbacks. And they weren't made to last long. So the 4th playback was me recording onto cassette tape before the Kirmuss, and then on cassette tape, the after Kirmuss. And the way we showed it at shows back in 2017 was left channel was before, switch to right channel with a 5-second delay. So your mind can see and hear and feel everything. So, long story short, we donated our first machine to KDKA, and they digitized these. So that's not an old record, but here I am, a happy-go-lucky guy, bumping into people that fulfill my life with, not with money, but with this. Now, there was a technical question that came up.
Yeah, we got it. We got a bunch of them. We have a lot in the queue, Charles.
We've got a lot of questions to get to. So
one was, I have the Kirmuss, and at the dead wax area, you know, I have material come out. It's impossible. Let me get my cover here. There we go. So this is the Kirmuss assembly. Okay, I have a slot here, 2 slots, 235 RPM 12-inch slots, a 10-inch slot, and a 7-inch slot. If we take a look at the side, okay, what happens is a record will drop in and then basically sit here, and it is guided by the 2 neoprene rollers that are underneath at the proper height, so the label does not get wet. And if you take a look here, we're talking about dead wax area, okay, which is right here near the edge.
Yep.
Okay, on this dead wax area, you cannot hit anything. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you do put in these guides, there's some felt guides that are here at the edge.
Yes.
Okay, if the fellow has the machine, you need to make sure that the notch is on the left side, not reversed.
Yeah. I found that out the hard, well, not the hard way, but I found that out when I was.
There is no way that you can do anything to the record.
No.
And we've done gazillion records for, at all the trade shows. We asked, bring a record in for restoration, especially bring in a record. Okay, I meant the edges. Yeah, there is no way to do that on the edge unless you have your guide the other way around.
Reverse, yeah, check the guide.
Yeah, because now your notch is there. But we cannot, and there's something else that we will find. We will find that a lot of the records have strings on them. When records come out of the press, there are two ways records come out of the hot press. One is, if you take a look at some of our materials, YouTubes and whatever, PowerPoints, the Cascadia Pressing Company, when the record before it pops out, it's in a stamper, okay? We need to have the record cool down in a stamper for 2 or 3 minutes. I'll explain why in a moment. But at that factory, a cutter goes around while the record is warm, and it does a nice job. Yeah. You'll never have a splinter or anything appear on the edge. Other factories will take the record out, it popped out hot, they'll put it in another machine, put a clamp down, and then have a cutter go around the edge. Or the cutter is stationary, and then the record now moves around. We will remove that material that has been there just by the process of you going around with the ionizing brush, but it will appear in the machine. And those, if you take a look at that, temperature is very critical. So I'm going to ask you, has anyone thought why we have warp records? Brand new records that you just
bought? Because it's 400 degrees outside and they sit outside for 30 seconds when they get delivered and they warp. Or I leave them in my car. I'm sorry to be sarcastic. I know that's not what you meant, Charles, but
we've all got that story. We've all got that story, Louis.
That's not what you meant, Charles. I know. I'm sorry. I was just poking a little fun.
Well, the demand is so high now. If I have a machine that can pop out a record every 3 minutes, okay, you need, at Cascadia, they want the record to pop out at 130 degrees, okay, not higher, at 130 degrees. If I now want to make an extra record an hour, what do? I'll cut that time down. So those records don't get to cool, so they come out warped. They end up in a stack. Okay, here's another prop here. We'll look into the factory here in Cascadia. There we go. There we go. So these records, here, there we go. You see all these records on these white papers? Okay. Yep. Every 3 minutes, a record pops out. If a record popped out, say, in 2 minutes, I'm just using an arbitrary number, the record is warped. So what do the factories do? They put a weight on it. The weight now flattens the record out as the record cools. Plastic has memory position. Yeah, it has memory. Speak to any plastic person. That's why playing records once a day per side is very important and not more. I'll talk about that in a second. But now the record leaves the distributor, it goes to the dealer goes to you, to the record reseller, they sell to you, the record's warped again. Why? It has that memory position. So very important where, how should I say it? Very important to think of what we're doing. And if we happen to have used aggressive cleaning solutions, and again, this is to everyone. It doesn't matter what manufacturer, whether it's a ultrasonic, whether it's a spin clean, whether it's, do not put anything on your record to clean it until you read the ingredients, and then compare the ingredients with the PVC and plasticizer chemical compatibility chart.
Yeah.
If there are no ingredients, ask the manufacturer for the material safety data sheet.
And good luck getting that.
Liquids, FedEx, UPS, they know my liquids on file. So as a retired first responder up here, if there's a tragedy, the trucks are overturned, there's a fire, we know how to handle that chemical spill or that fire.
Yeah.
The same thing, some of those are detrimental to plastic and PVC. And some are detrimental, as I've proven and helped a couple of manufacturers, where they couldn't understand why their pumps and their O-rings were failing. Their liquid, in fact, was not neoprene and rubber friendly. So I've helped people in this industry. It's not all about Kirmuss. It's about being honest. And if you know something, you share it.
Yeah.
So if you use an aggressive cleaning solution, which, like we said, it can't get in the groove. So all you're doing, you're swishing stuff around. The needle temperature is very, very high, okay, at the contact point. So the groove will change a bit. You want the groove to come back to its rest position. And some of these chemicals are aggressive. So that's why I play 1 record per day per side. Oh, maybe I'll do 2 or 3. But, because it takes 20 minutes or whatever to get through. But a lot of people just play 1 track. And that's why when you buy a used record and track 3 is gray, because hey, it's Donna Summers, man. Push, in the push.
Yeah.
Then we play it over and over and over again. And guess what I did? Radio Shack had a fluid. Lafayette Electronics had a fluid. Thorns had a spray. I used everything trying to get rid of the pop. And guess what? The pop got back because I coated the record with whatever I was using, whether it be mechanical or machine or whatever. But the needle did the cleaning again because it was fighting through those 2 layers and then hitting the pressing oil, the cooled oil.
So we have
let's put some questions up, Charles, and possibly you can address them. And we'll move along because we want to try and get to all these questions. So if we can, we love hearing your insight. We absolutely do. I'm sure everyone would say that, but getting through some of these so our audience, who we want to put first in this whole equation, can get these questions to you and have them addressed by you.
Yep. Okay. I see one right here talking about the styluses, and it's properly aligned. Well, it's a diamond. You're going to be taking now the Kuzma 60, right, Shane? From looking at your channel.
Well, keep my fingers crossed. I've just taken delivery of a Kuzma 50. And,
I know. I saw that.
Pretty damn impressed with that, let me tell you.
Okay, here, let me get to my prop here again. Okay, so we're not writing on the bottom. Okay, we're not writing on the bottom. The 6 microns right on the bottom has nothing inside. It's just a guide. Okay, You're not picking up music down there. Doesn't matter whether we elliptical, conical, stylus, we are not doing anything. Whether it's diamond, sapphire, ruby, plastic, yes, because the coefficient of friction and the size is basically the size of the groove. Okay, or in the micron range, not in the submicron range. So you're not going to go and do anything to that. And again, send me an email, and there are a lot of people that have done this. And the way that I measure things is I use a spectrum analyzer. Okay, there we go. More props. Louis has one. You'll see it jumping on Shane's channel and whatever. On the Audiophile test printout, it shows me the frequency response ranges and the dB gains and whatever. So I can do a test record with Audiophile right here. Use the Audiophile computer right here.
My goodness, how can you move around in that room, Charles? You must be
every dealer in the 70s had this from Audiophile. It's a TC300. You had a test record. You had a jig that went on to your turntable. You were able to get a printout after playing the record, decibel output of the cartridge, frequency range per band out of the cartridge, the impedance, the capacitance, the resistance of the cable, all on a printout. So in one of the, I have to find the video, that I ran a record using a BSR auto return with a Shure M44 cartridge on that same test record after 8 months, just back and forth, 20 minutes nonstop, no difference. No difference. Okay. And how? Again, I didn't even look at, my little test meter with jumping things. I just asked for the printout from the Audiophile tester. Okay. And you're going to need to
have a lie down, mate, after this this interview. Yeah. You're getting plenty of exercise.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can do the same thing if you have an oscilloscope with the Shure tester. When Shure closed, when they sold their last Mark V cartridges, V15 Mark Vs, 10,000 of them to Library of Congress. Gary, engineer, gave me this brand new in exchange for a machine and the test records, and we can do the same thing using the oscilloscope. Yeah. So you can see, by the way, in this study of how I got in this, it's test equipment.
Yeah, it looks very much. There's a lot of verifying your results through testing and analysis. That's clearly obvious. I'm seeing more of that than I've ever seen, Charles.
Yeah, a good question I just saw here popped up. Do I want to do a pre-clean? Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, if I have a record that I picked up that has fungus on it, powder on it.
Schmutz, isn't that what we call it?
Not oils, not fingerprint oils. What I do is I'll use the bunny cloth with distilled water and just a quick wipe, and then I process my record in my machine.
Beautiful.
That's the way that I do it. And really, folks, I love spin clean. You're going to say Charles is, eating some of this Vegemite here, and he's gone.
Hey. Okay. Don't you be knocking my Vegemite, mate. Well, at least mine's been used.
Yeah, mine's fresh. There's a challenge coming.
It's the elixir of life for an Australian.
So, there we go. So just to share something, what are we trying to do? We're trying to keep our stylus clean, okay? And we had a panel with Michael Fremer. I represented the ultrasonic industry, and then we had vacuum guy, and then we had the VP of Spin Clean. And I think he fell out of his chair when at the end I say, guys, if you don't have $1,300 US or $1,500 US for a Kirmuss restoration machine, or you don't have the time. Someone asked, how do we restore? So I will answer that, but this is more answering questions of what can we do in the interim, okay? Use distilled water, put it in the Spin Clean. I like the Spin Clean because I'll take, not the $200,000 record, a little humor. I'll turn it around, okay? The water droplets are larger than the groove, so I can't get in the groove. So what I do is I will take a 10 micron Kirmuss brush that I will then brush this around, and basically I'm moving, just the distilled water, moving it around. I'll take the bunny cloth, I'll remove it. Then I'll take a 10 micron fiber brush I resurrected from Dr. Watts, the disc preener, and polish the groove. That is as best as you're going to get. We still have not removed the pressing oil or the release agent. We have not removed the dust particles that got fused into the record, and we'll talk about why we hear records that have pops that are new. And we have not removed necessarily the outgassing of the plasticizer, but we have removed some of the prior cleaning agents because you've done a mechanical. Some of the spin cleans in the old days used to have a little tong with foam. I love it. Don't use the chemical. Why I say that? Still to this day, no one has told Mr. Fremer or the audience in that Zoom that we did of what's inside. We need to be PVC plasticizer friendly. But I love it. And always then, before you play a record, use a 10 micron brush. And not carbon fiber. People are selling these brushes. This. You see the carbon fibers there? Yep. That's to remove static. All you're doing is swishing dust around. You're not doing anything. You need to have a brush that you will see the brush become white. because it will go in the groove. This is a 10 micron brush that fits into that 6 micron by 30, 40, 45 micron groove. And you'll have to turn the record by hand using your finger on the label, because this will shut down your turntable because it's making contact with all the films.
Yeah.
If the films were removed by our process, you won't have the problem. But records that are in your collection right now, all the other brushes, they do nothing. And then just use the lint roller that Louis was using just before to make sure we don't see his dandruff to clean this.
Yeah,
and then use a wet needle cleaner.
The audience.
Then use a wet needle cleaner every 4 or 5 plays, from the back of the needle to the front, back of the needle to the front twice. That's it, not the cantilever. That's all you need. And then when you want to restore records, then it's our process.
Brilliant. Well, there's another question there. We'll let you deal with them, Charles, and we'll sit back and throw our 2 cents in here and there when we see fit.
Okay, number 1 is, how many times can you clean a record with the Kirmuss Restorer? Once the restoration process is complete, you never have to do this in and out of the machine ever again.
Yes.
Because we removed the 3 layers. Whatever was on the coating that air or vacuum dried, or air dried or spun dried on the record, we've removed the plasticizer. Most of the scratches are on the outgassing of the plasticizer, and the release agent or pressing oil are gone. So a 2-minute cycle, because like you've been seeing me here, hey, Charles, I'm touching the record with my fingers. Boy, he's an idiot. I'll never buy a Kirmuss. He doesn't know how to handle a record. He's on Shane's video going, look at all the schmutz. I know what the end result is. It's going to be removed, okay? But no, in all honesty, the way we do it is, I'll put it into the machine for about 4 minutes. In our manual, I say 5 because I don't know the provenance of the record. We have some records that are totally coated with all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
I've not done anything, though, with the ultrasonic. It doesn't matter whether it's a Kirmuss ultrasonic, whether it's XYZ ultrasonic. And, of course, we're assuming that those are real ultrasonics that have cavitation. We don't do anything. Why? The record is negative, and the water, with or without a soap. Nah, don't come and see me.
Yeah.
So what we do, take the record out. We wobble. Here, let's see. I got to get back to my full screen here. Hello. Wonderful, Charles. How do we get to full screen? Anyways, doesn't matter. You're going to have to read the here. I'm going to go down this way here. Oh well. Anyways, so we'll figure it out in a bit.
That's live television for you.
There we go.
That's it. That's it.
Full screen. There we go. Got it. So what we do is we apply the spray 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 8 o'clock to the record. We'll use this brush and we'll crunch it. Not like this. We need to crunch it and use some force. Okay. We either have the record on a pad that's on a work table with the bunny cloth, or we have a little support. Okay. I apply it both sides. I'll put the record into the machine for 4 minutes. Don't have to do 5 anymore. It's 4 minutes. As the record spins, the charge is opposite to that of water. Now we're attracting the bubbles. They're rising, they're cavitating, they're being drawn, and we pull materials out. Okay. Take the record out, wobble it, put it on the work area. Then before I do anything, I say, okay, fine. If I have a lot of sheeting, there's a severe coating on there. If I have thousands of droplets of water on there, there's a coating on there. Those are not from the record. They are from aftermarket, someone polishing up the record for sale. We've seen people use protective coatings. We've seen people use, to sell records, and we'll talk about used records in a bit, lighter fluid to dress the record up for sale. No problem. We'll take the water off, put the spray on again, put it in the machine, take the record out, wobble the water, and if I now see a lot of water on there, I remove the excess water with the bunny cloth. I apply the spray 12, 8, and 4, and there's a colorant in this spray. like I said, I can put a record in my machine for 10 years. I won't do anything. I'll do some surface cleaning, but I can't get into what I want, picking up the detail from the stamper. Okay. So there's a colorant in here, and it shows me what came out. So to go further and answer your question, how long do I have to go in and out and in and out of the machine? Some manufacturers say, oh, do it 5 minutes. If you don't like it, do it another 5 minutes. If you don't like it again, do it another 5 minutes. When do you stop? You do not know. A timer doesn't tell you that it's presto, it's ready. The colorant in here will show you what came out in the previous cycle. So we'll see an increase in the colorant, which says, hey, we picked materials out. What did we pick out first? The first layer is what another process left. The second and third layers are the outgassing of the plasticizer. And you'll see, wow, the scratches are gone from the record. We cannot repair plastic, but we will remove the scuff marks in that film caused by the plastic evaporating, outgassing. And then the last cycle will be the pressing oil. And how do you know that's left?
And that's that film that you talked about earlier, which, to give people an idea, it's that film you see on the inside of your windows of your car. That's the film that's got the damage on it, because essentially it's almost like a layer of protection that we now want to remove.
Shane, you should do this. You don't need Kirmuss. You hit the nail on the head.
We need you, Charles, that's for sure.
Except for the aggressive chemicals, all of these two coatings that I talked about have protected our plastic.
Yeah.
They have. Okay. We've all done that skid mark, and we hear the click every revolution. Okay. If we removed all these three layers, the needle now is lower. I have had the skid on those films. So while visible on the plastic, it's being proven in our work 7 times out of 10, I won't hear that tone arm skid. Because we're down in the pocket. Yes.
And that's where the restoration comes in, and not cleaning.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because we've stripped that out.
Let's get into some more questions, because this is for our audience, and so we need to get through these for Charles.
I love this question. Look, whether you have a project $500 or $900 Audio-Technica turntable, and you kids have them, they have an Audiophile Red, they got USB out, they have Bluetooth, whatever. Or you have a big, huge washing machine that Fremer has, the Air Force, okay? What are we trying to do, okay? If you really want to hear and be in the studio with the artist, listening to everything, you want to play this, okay?
Yeah.
You don't want to play through all of those layers that I mentioned, which, by the way, create issues, because now you have to clean your needle every time you play a record. So to answer your question, I can use my machine and put it in for 2 minutes. I have not removed anything except fingerprint oils. The record looks good. But what are we trying to hear? If you take a look at some of the videos that are on many of the YouTube channels of the Kirmuss, there's a great one by a record custodian that was sent to me unsolicited while we were at the LA show a couple of weeks back, where he did a before cleaning spectrum analyzer, not with a $350 deal like this, okay? He then used a very famous, very expensive, 5-6 times more the price of a Kirmuss machine, ultrasonic machine, did the after. And when I met him by accident, when I was in Mexico City, not knowing what he's going to be doing, he said, "You're full of shit because you don't know what you're doing, and I have the best machine. Your machine is inexpensive." And you'll see the video where he says, in a totally scratched record that's noisy, it works. So to get back to your question, it's laborious. Yeah, but you know what? New records, 18 to 22 records, 18 to 22 minutes. You know when they're finished by No White. The records are dry. And you do 2 LPs at a time. If you buy the 3LP that's available in Europe, the available in Australia, New Zealand, anything outside of United States, where it's available at Upscale Audio for Kevin Deal, you'll do 3 LPs at a time. So maximum is about 25 minutes, 3 LPs, all simultaneously at the worst case. Now, you don't need a filter. Let's go back to the triboelectric table of charges. The triboelectric table of charges states that a record is negative and water is negative. That's why after restoration, I wobble the record, the water comes off. I use an optician's cloth to remove the few droplets of water. I then polish the groove with a 10 micron parastatic felt, and we're done. And all of these filters, again, this is science. I showed Mr. Freber. So here, guys, this is part of the microscope. I have a $278,000 microscope that I had to buy for Mr. Fremer in 2017. There it is right there with me, nicer, younger man. There are those Hall & Oates test records that I mentioned. To prove there was a pressing oil. He said there's bullshit. No PAM being spread on a stamper. It comes out of the plastic, as we talked about. This lens is $75,000. It has a fiber optic light that goes, and it's 2,500x. And I can measure the grooves. So I proved the pressing oil issue. It's not a $300 USB that everyone says, I can see clearly now. Yeah, the dirt, dust, dandruff is gone. But you haven't seen what's inside the groove. You haven't seen this. This is what we see. Here, why are records? Let's talk about records that come out of the press. You saw they pop out on this paper. They're stacked. Every 3 minutes, a record pops out. So here we have a piece of dust that got fused into the record because the oil was cooling. Well, every time you hit that with your needle, and most of the time it's on the edge of the record, you'll hear a pop at that spot. So we remove the release agent, the pressing oil. Here we go. We remove 0.9 microns. So this is the Keyence VHX 7000. We've gone to 31 microns from to 32 microns. And we remove the pop, but look, we now have detail. That's where we have the timbre, the tone, the harmonics, the music, the emotion of the artist. We are now, for the first time, seeing the stamper. That's why we get the game.
And that's measured at the same spot on the record, Charles?
It's done on, yes, it's done. Well, number one for the pop, yes, it's done on the same spot. And the visual is also on the same spot. Yes.
Wow, it's so different between the A and B photos. Yeah.
Now,
wow,
now what we now do is we have some pictures we sent over to Mr. Fremer for this very famous protectant that was sold, where after 100 plays you need to reapply it, and we proved it's a coating. And to do it, to get the same spot, because I didn't have dust, I actually nicked the record with a knife and put in a little, white paint, so I can locate the spot. In the pictures that were on Mr. Fremer's site, I didn't get the exact capture. This is back in 2017. Now I'm a little smarter. You have to sometimes destroy a record to get the reference point. But yeah, so to answer your question, no filter needed. And most of these filters with that microscope, that was I was getting to, the filters in one of Fremer's machines. He says, well, here, even better. The question, and I see this other great question here. So getting back to Mr. Fremer, when we met in the Munich show 2 weeks after Expona in 2017. There he is. Oh, there's Charles with the lab coat. Oh, wow. Oh, he's real. He's in Munich. He must be an audiophile, not a nerd. So he's there, and he says, how come the Germans are doing 3 5-minute cycles? And his records were 9 5-minute cycles. What's going on? Mr. Fremer, due respect, I don't know. He's there with the camera. He goes, buys a couple of German records, 3 5-minute cycles. We went over to his home, and he immediately shows me this machine. It happens to be one of the German machines I opened up when I started this in 2014. Okay. I said, Mr. Fremmer, number one, it's not an ultrasonic. Oh, blah, 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 blah. I said, let's get some aluminum foil. Okay. Then I say, how often do you change the water? Oh, the manufacturer says every 6 months, get rid of the water and add distilled water, because they had these little floating beads that would go up and down. So add distilled water. So every 6 months. I said, Mr. Fremmer, you are air drying onto your record whatever came off in all the previous records that are sitting in your tank. Oh, there's a filter in here, Mr. Fremmer. It's $1.99 Ace hardware. The pore size is 200 to 300 microns. Dirt, dust, oil. There's no friggin' way you're going to be filtering anything out. Okay? So that's why when people kind of are upset at me, because I go and buy a bottle of fluorescent 1 micron dust, put them into an ultrasonic machine, put them into whatever machine. Then let's see what comes out. What gets air dried on the record? Wow, I got fluorescent speckles on there. Yeah. The filter didn't do anything. It did a little. Take a fluorescent light, look in the basin. Hey, man, it's sparkles, sprinklers. You think you're at Dairy Queen. What's going on here? The filters don't do anything. To get a 1 micron filter is $3,000 to $5,000. Ceramic with osmosis and whatever ain't going to happen in our industry. And again, you don't need a filter because the record repels water. So to the question that kind of came in between here, the record it comes out virtually dry. And what was that thing that just was up there?
It's about being able to reuse the water, because you have to cycle it out after so many records.
Okay. So this sounds like, okay, this is a Kirmuss question. Okay. A real ultrasonic creates heat. Okay. So you need to have an alarm that tells you that you're at around 95, 98 degrees. So you have to stop the machine to protect a real ultrasonic, the transducers. But also you need to cool the water down. Okay. So what we do is we say, take the water out. I do 60 records at the California SoCal show a couple of weeks ago. I take the water out, I put it back in the jugs, I put fresh water back in, I do the degas. So also ultrasonics need degassing because we introduce air, which increases the coefficient of friction with kinetic energy, which creates a faster rise of temperature. So with the Kirmuss, as soon as you see the red light light up, the small one, finish your cycles. And then change the water. Definitely when it's flashing, you want to stop because you're at about 102 degrees. Get rid of the water. You don't have to wait for the water to cool down. Put new water in, and then do the degas, and then start all over again.
So you're doing it for temperature.
You're doing it for temperature. Correct. And that's it. But you do not want, if I only did 4 records today, don't keep the water more than 2 days. And not in the tank. You need to put it back into the gallon jugs.
Is that because of bacteria? What's the purpose, Charles?
Yeah, well, what happens if you keep the water in the tank, we have all sorts of garbage coming off records. We have ethylene oxide that comes off from turgitol. That's nasty for plastics and rubbers, isn't it? Not only for your record, but for your equipment. We also have ether that gets into the tank because a lot of these cleaning solutions, air or vacuum dried onto the record, that makes the record shiny. We've stripped all that. Okay, now the shininess is from the pure PVC, not an artificial coating. And what happens is we do not want that to get in and glue the gears. That's why in our process, get rid of the water, put it in a jug for next day or so. Put the water back in, add a capful of 70% IPA. It's not dangerous in 1.78 gallons or 7.1 liters of distilled water. It's to kill the fungus that comes off records. Yeah. So when you are handling records with anything in a ventilated area. Okay.
Let's talk about that again, Charles, because you used 3 letters there. Let's make sure our audience understand what we're adding to the water.
Yes.
So
in our process, we use distilled water. There's a video that is on our website by a chemical engineer that talks about distilled water being the purest water. We have not removed any of the ions through deionization, so my ionizing agent works. And the whole premise is being explained by a chemical engineer for Mr. Fremmer. It's on his channel, and Mr. Fremmer is going to send it to me so I can share it with everyone on our channel. But we put in 1.4 ounces of 70% IPA to kill live or dormant fungus so we don't get sick.
IPA, explain.
Yeah, isopropyl alcohol. Some people call it rubbing alcohol, but it's not the one with the colorant in there, green or whatever. That is a little menthol to soothe your body while someone is giving you a professional massage. Okay.
Professional.
So not to irritate. And that's why 70% alcohol also was used during COVID as disinfectants, whether it had menthol or whatever in there. It was because it evaporates slower than 99 or 91%. Okay, we got more questions here. Okay, enzyme cleaners. And I think there was another question before that, chaps, we talked about.
Yeah, it popped up about, when they run the records through the machine, the water's so dirty, that's all the stuff coming off your records, man. That's what you're removing. If the water is really dirty, it's an example the machine's doing what it's supposed to do.
Well, no, not really. The only time you'll see dirty gray water is if we have fungus on the record.
There you go.
Can I butt in here and make a point? Because I have Charles's machine, as does Louis. And I noticed that when I was going through my records, I was seeing all kinds of black little, all kinds of stuff sitting in the bottom. In fact, I took a picture of that, which both Louis and I are about to review Charles's record restoration system. So stay tuned for that on both of our channels, because we will have that coming up soon. But I have taken a photo of the amount of schmutz, as we call it, Charles, sitting in the bottom of that bath. And I mean, look, I've used other machines as well, but I just don't see that kind of stuff sitting in the bottom of other things.
Because they don't do anything. I'm sorry, there's no cavitation. You need to remove all these machines are doing. The record is repelling the soap, or the record is repelling the water. Heaven forbid someone, as this chemical engineer said, is using tap water. 2 of the manufacturers of ultrasonic say use tap water. What's in your friggin' tap water at home?
Yeah.
It's as bad as you going to your car wash and they're air drying your car, not using brushes, and your car is as dirty as it was before. Come on, guys. We need some method of mechanics to do something. So in this material, the stuff settles to the bottom and it stays there. So it is fungus. Sometimes the black stuff you see is from the poor cuttings that we've had. Okay, and we do have that in the pressings as well. But the water is not cloudy. That's why we ask every 5 minutes, take the cover off. Take a look at the tank. If it's gray water, like what we do when at the end of the shows, we restore our glasses. We'll talk about that. We make an announcement at the trade shows. Come, we'll restore your glasses. The first glass that goes in, you can't see the bottom of the tank anymore because it's all oils. Okay. So we'll kind of talk about that if you can remind me at the end, because that's another use of the system for you. But when you see it gray, then get rid of the water, just because you want to be proper, because I wear a white lab coat. It's not going to affect your record, because the record, when it comes out of the Kirmuss, is virtually dry. So who cares? Okay. So I removed the excess, the little few droplets with that. So that has not made any impact on the system. But very important, true ultrasonics, you need to degas every 4 or 5 records. Why? When first you pour water into an ultrasonic, you have air. Air creates resistance, and when the bubbles cavitate, what happens? They create kinetic energy. and they will increase the speed as which the temperature goes up.
Yeah.
So by taking the cover off every 5 minutes, I take a look. Oh, the water's cool. I think I've only twice in my career in this business since 2017 had cloudy water. But I then do a degas because your records also are pushing the water away. So we want to increase the efficiency of cavitation. And cavitation needs a preheater. When you pour water into any ultrasonic, if it's a working cavitation machine, the range is about 68 degrees to about 100 degrees. Anything lower, anything higher, we do not have the efficiency of cavitation. So in our process, we preheat the water. Doesn't affect your cleaning of your first cycle in the machine. We bring the temperature up to about 68 to 72, so it's a plus or minus 10%, if not less. And then afterwards, the water heats by itself because of the kinetic energy. So there was an interesting question. Will 120 kilohertz machines destroy records?
Okay. Yeah.
Can I use them on a record? Okay. I ask you guys in the audience. This isn't Kirmuss speaking. This is, this is Stanley Kiss in high school physics, and Mr. Cook in my chemistry class back to 71 to 74. Remember, we earlier mentioned, for people that have just come in, when we're looking at ultrasonic cleaning, we need to take a look at frequency, and the frequency is based on what we're trying to clean. Okay, and I'm using the word clean. No $20 for the Red Cross over in Australia. Okay,
hey Charles, I'm keeping count.
Yeah, I know you're keeping count. So 25 kilohertz is great for oils. We do have oils on records, don't we? I'm letting you answer the question. 35 kilohertz creates a bubble size that is adequate to remove dirt, dust, and fungus, which is 3 to 5 microns. It's close enough to remove oils, so that's what we use. 120 kilohertz ultrasonics, whether they're real or not, whether they cavitate or not, whether I can measure the energy with a cattle prod or the other tester, the bubble size is, yes, it's high impact, high power. Let's call it 1,000 kilometers an hour, not 810 at 45 or 46, not 510 at 35 kilohertz. But the bubble size is minuscule. And what are we trying to remove? Yes, per my esteemed colleague, J.R. Beauclair, we have submicron detail in this. Okay, going back to my little prop, you will see the submicron detail that is here, that's being hidden by the pressing oil. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yes, that would be wonderful if we subject it to a 120 kilohertz machine, and if we change the charge of the record to be opposite to water, the 120 kilohertz would be wonderful. But we can't get into that because we have all these films that only the lower frequencies can do.
Yeah,
There's never been education. Everyone knows that I buy my machine from Kodasan in China. Okay, this removes all these. Charles isn't doing it. I buy it from the largest manufacturer of ultrasonics in the world. The building is 10 football fields, okay, of production equipment, all automated, 30, 40 injection machines. I'm not going to go and create an ultrasonic. I'm going to modify it because I have my own intellectual property. I'm going to make my own ultrasonic loading system for records because you cannot put more than 4 records in a 7-liter tank. Otherwise, there's no cavitation. There's a loading factor. So I had the conversation with these folks, and they sell an adapter, or the Chinese sell these little adapters where you have multiple records and whatever on a skewer and all of this nonsense. It kills the cavitation. And what are we trying to do? We're not interested in what 120 kilohertz does with substrates and gold migration and whatever. We're trying to remove oils first and then bore down.
And get
bubble
down
size that
into
we have. If we remove the film, I've removed the contaminants that were either fused at the factory or fused at your house by you not using a brush before you play a record that has not had the pressing oil removed.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, I think we're getting close to the end of our show, but we want to wrap up with some
Any
quick
more
fire
questions that
questions,
are
Charles.
maybe of significant interest?
Yeah, maybe some rapid fire, Charles. And I think we've already addressed this one. I think this is all about changing the charge of the record so you get better performance, right?
Yeah, we do not use a pre-cleaning spray. We put the record in the machine, do a 4-minute cycle, take it out, remove the water, then apply the spray that changes the charge of the record. Okay. And also don't use sprays and then brushes, because all you're doing is you're making the record shiny.
Yeah.
I think this is a question coming off of you brought up earlier about storing records in sleeves, and that also over time with the gas and everything will affect the vinyl. So what do we use?
Yeah, I recommend looking for a sleeve that is made out of HDPE, high density polyethylene. They do not outgas. They are anti-static. And having inside a 4 mil HDPE plastic cover and also an alkaline paper, not a rice paper inside, that makes the sleeve a little more rigid. We make one. We call it a custodial sleeve. Rice paper, you nick it, humidity, you create fungus all over again. And a lot of these sleeves, you'll see, even in some records, you'll see white particles on the records. That's talcum powder from the record sleeve. A lot of these sleeves are made in China. There's no temperature being controlled in the facilities. The windows are open, and they're using talcum powder to make sure the plastics don't stick, depending on the time of year.
Yeah. I've seen that firsthand, Charles, and know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. It looks like somebody's looking to know, how did they pick up one of your units in Canada?
Very good. If you're in Edmonton, in Alberta, we have National Audio Systems. Wade Church is the operating manager. He's in Edmonton. He handles the West Coast, the Prairie provinces, including Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and obviously BC. Montreal, Quebec, and the Maritimes, it's Acoustic Technologies. Just send me an email. I will gladly introduce you to them. We got a Audiophile Show special going on for this event, for the weekend and so on. So every one of our dealers, is introduced to that, where we provide extra sundries and whatever. I wanted to cover two things, if you may, and not to interrupt the audience, and I don't see all the questions. I opened up this record, okay? Brand new record. I've had it for a while. I opened it up, and we have fingerprints and all sorts of stuff on there.
It's crazy how those are happening lately, Charles, by the way. New records coming out, like used records.
I'm seeing this too, Louis. I'm seeing the quality is really, really has fallen away.
There's a particular, I won't mention names, but there's a particular manufacturer that makes some high quality records that almost everyone I get looks filthy, absolutely filthy, and it just blows my mind. Yeah,
we had this, and there's a story for this for you folks that really love music. Okay, we had Bob Grossman. He retired after 40 years being the bassoonist and record custodian for the Philadelphia Orchestra. We see him every year at the Capitol Audio Show. He's the guy with the brown bowler. I got my crazy hat and whatever. And he brought in a customer that got one of this company's 180-gram, $185 records. We restored it. It was totally scratched. We brought it over to the reseller and said, hey, we need a new record. We got it, opened it up in front of the record reseller. Scratches and fingerprints. Brand new record.
Brand new. Wow.
Where did it come from? The same company does not go to our audio shows in the UK when we're there anymore, because we're in the record section. Why? Everyone knows, bring a new record to Kirmuss and he will make it shine in the sense of audio. Okay.
Yeah.
You will hear the artist. They brew back this record here. After restoration, you'll hear 2 instruments you've never heard before. Okay. And you'll see, obviously, you'll feel it, you'll hear it. Your VU meters will do a lot more. There are a lot of things you don't need test equipment for. Your ears and your soundstage will do it.
Best test equipment you'll ever have.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. Well, I have that record, Charles. I'm going to put that to the test.
Okay.
I haven't restored my press of that yet, but now you've got me intrigued. I am going to do that.
Yeah, the first 3 Miles Davis records, they were all live on tape. And because Miles got cheap plastic, remember, to make the biscuit, sometimes you don't get the real plastic, right? You get chopped up records and whatever. Long story short, the first record restored, you hear the tape hiss that the engineer didn't take out. The other 2 records you hear, the first ones, these are the first 3, you'll hear the ashtrays and chairs moving around that you do not hear. Would you buy this brand new record? You see that color?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, hold on. That's producer's error there. Yeah, look at that color.
Yeah, okay. These were every single record sold at the Capitol Audio Show 3 years ago that were produced by a very famous person in this industry. That J.R. Beauclair had to bring me 6 records to restore the sound. One of them was warped, audiophile quality record.
Wow.
Mr. Audiophile himself. And little phone call, please come down and see me. People answer my phone calls, even though I'm crazy with a rabbit and whatever, with lab coats. And we discovered that the records were in the press too long. So in my closing note, what I do is, unless it's a new artist, by the way, I love Anne Bisson, and her records are pressed by RTI. They are our minimum published specification. 1.3 to 1.4 dB gain more out of your cartridge, and 8% more increase in frequency spectrum. Why? Always, any record, any of her pressings from RTI, why? They use good plastic. On the opposite end, 20, 30% more increase out of your cartridge output, 20, 30, 40% more more frequency response spectrum, imagery, soundstage, harmonics, and whatever on new records. So I only buy new records if they're new artists, new song. I have no choice. I go to the expensive neighborhoods. I'm trying to figure out what that said.
He's commenting on how you always have everything around you. You must have a new product you're working on, like a desk.
Oh, yes, I will.
Where everything's just within reach. Sorry, I'm just showing comments. That's all.
Okay. So quickly speaking, I go to Goodwill in the rich neighborhoods. I'm over 50. I'm over 60. I'm over 65. 50 cents on Tuesdays. They're the original records, original pressings, original artwork. Everything's original. And guess what? The surface scratches and scuff marks are all in the outgassing. Very few in the plastic, and most of them I don't hear. When you do buy used records from record resellers, the first thing you do is, what did you do to your record before you're selling it to me? You use distilled water, you use the cloth, whatever. I love you. Oh, you're using a chemical. What are you using? Blah, 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 blah. Well, what's in it? Go on, get the material safety data sheet. Available once you know what the ingredients are, and it will tell you whether it's safe for plastics, safe for the plasticizer, safe for any pumps and rubber parts you may have in your machines. You need to watch out. We have people that will shine a record with lighter fluid and beta shoe polish to get more money. And at these record fairs, we see people that come with their baby buggies. It's the new crowd. They don't play the records. They collect them. They buy shiny records. So I'm very, when a guy says I only use distilled water, he's my friend. He really is. All of these, a shiny record is not a clean record, and definitely a shiny record is not a restored record. So what's coming new? Tapes are in, guys. Compact cassette tapes are in. Here is the Kirmuss Audio compact cassette tape cleaning machine that's coming out.
Wow.
It'll be here for Expona, if not for the Capital Audio Show. And here we have the Kirmuss Audio. God, I got more shit on the floor here. You guys made me work here today. I got lenses. I got all sorts of crap here. This is a, here we go. Let's see. There we go. Here. This is a, get rid of the bottle. New Zealand, guys. You Aussies, this is from New Zealand. Okay.
Yeah, their wine's not as good as our wine, mate.
There we go. So here, let me just get rid of this. So here, this is a record selector that when I bring the records up front, there we go, the record will move all by itself. Okay.
Oh, nice.
And then you choose the record you want, take it out, put this back, and then what we do is we'll do the same thing. There we go. And it stops at the place where you took it.
Oh,
so
nice.
These are 20 records. They'll do all of, they'll do the 78s, they'll do 45s. Long story short, that's going to be available in 3 months. And it's a gift. It's a gift for folks to give to an audiophile for a birthday.
Great. That's a great present for an audiophile.
Yeah, it's great. Keep it next to your turntable for the records that you've restored or the records you want to play with friends. You know, and it fits into the calyx with a nice little slider.
Which is awesome.
So hopefully you may even see it at IKEA being sold.
Right now, what I want to do right now is I want to thank everybody for coming along and oh, look out, Charles has got the Vegemite, mate. Come on, we've got to get some of that for you, Louis. I tell you. But that aside, look, thank you all very much. This was our very first one of these, and I think we've done really, really well. Just quietly, it looks like it rolled really well. Thank you very much, all the people that jumped on and asked their questions of Charles. We are going to have now. Charles is coming down to Australia. We can
be at the Melbourne show.
Yep, we're gonna. So I'll be down there with Charles. Gee, I wish you were there, Louis. But I've got to get over to the States soon, and I'll meet everybody over there when I get to America for Expona. We're hoping for that. And Charles is going to eat some Vegemite for us to finish this off, and that will be wonderful. But because he's not a real Aussie till he's done that. But look, thank you all very, very much. Louis has done an amazing job being the producer there. Thank you, brother. That is sensational work. He's been keeping me fed with what I need to know. He has been the absolute engine. And we are, just to let you all know, we are working with software that we literally downloaded this week. So there's a little bit of a bit of backstory. We are literally, we may look like a duck, we may be calm on top of the water, but we are paddling like crazy underneath. And I think it all went pretty well. I want to thank you, Charles, very, very much for being our inaugural guest here on the Audiophile Show. We're going to be doing a lot of these, everybody. So make sure you keep locking in this time, because we want you, as the Americans say. And that's what we really want to do. We want to get you here. We want you involved in this. Charles has been magnificent. We've learned a lot, Charles, today. I want to thank you from the bottom of both of our hearts for coming on here and sharing your life story, the things that make you tick as a human being, the things that make you real, which is what this show is all about. And then what we end up getting is a product from you that we know works. And I can certainly will be talking about that in my review. I know Louis will be in his, so they are to come. I also have a video that you sent me, Charles, which I will put up on the channel of the Mexico record restoration stuff. We're going to get in there. We're going to do that. I'll show you that on the channel, and maybe Louis can drop that as well on for his audience, and I can get that across to him. So, look, again, thank you all very much. We will see you at the Melbourne StereoNet Melbourne Hi-Fi Show, Charles and I, and hopefully all three of us will be together at Expona next year, where I can meet some of my American family, and we're really looking forward to the time that happens as well. So I've spoken enough. Louis, what would you like to say?
I'm just so grateful for the community for supporting us. Thank you for all the wonderful questions. And of course, thank you, Charles, for spending your evening with us. It's a Saturday night for you as well. I'm sure you have lots of things that you could be doing, and you're taking that time to not only spend with Shane and I, but with the entire audio community. So thank you for that, for coming here and kind of giving us a little bit behind the scenes, the man behind the rabbit, if you will.
You got me
Really
emotional here, guys.
really appreciate it, Charles. Thank you.
You know, it all starts with a passion for the hobby. We need to get other younger kids involved and whatever. I'm honored and very blessed to have the chance to meet peers. You know, we're a small family business. All of this was by accident, and now, you know, going after tapes and going after things, it's a lunacy. It really is. But you know what? Why not? We need to enjoy what we do. And I apologize if we didn't get to all the questions. Please send me an email. I answer every single email that comes in. I direct people to folks that are there. You know, I like to set the standard, and the standard with everything. You know, if you buy speakers, if you buy cartridges, you buy amplifiers, they all sound a bit different. Okay. I like Julian Margulis from the Margulis Company in Mexico. Louis had the chance to meet him. He's trying to develop machines to allow the industry to really measure what our brains are hearing. And it's the harmonics, the tone, the resonances. That's where music is. You speak to any musician, they will tell you that's what it is. You speak to any sound engineer like Shane, that's where it is. So my attempt is just like JR. Hit the stamper and then hit the stamper properly with your cartridge, your needle, and then use, like what Norm purports at AV Room Services, isolation, whether it be equipment, whether it be room acoustics, those three things. You do not need to buy a $20,000 or $200,000 turntable. Let's get your turntable set up the right way to play the stamper. So that's me. And if I come across, you know it all, that I had to learn all this through books. And the same thing with ultrasonics. Simple question. How many kelvins or watts per square centimeter is generated? You don't need any of the other stuff that I have here. Just ask and you'll be surprised. It's
thank you, Charles.
And I love the spin clean. So we need to taste the Vegemite.
Yes.
Oh, right. wait. Let me get you on the big screen, Charles. Hold on. There we go.
Okay.
You know what I'm going to do?
Okay. Could you explain, Shane, to all the others that are not Australians, what this is?
This is what they make roads out of. This is Australian bitumen, essentially. This is, well, the Chinese and the Japanese like to call this umami because it has a oh, come on, Charles. Now I'm going to do, look at this. Oh my God. Just eat it straight off your finger. If you're an Aussie, you will love this stuff.
You know what?
Some of this. You'll love
it. You know what?
Oh, there you go.
It ain't bad.
There you go.
Oh, Charles. Look at that. I'll turn him into an Australian before I'm done with him yet.
Oh, this is, I think the rye bread made the difference.
There you go. There you go. So look, everybody, thank you so very, very much for being here today. We've had a ball bringing this show to you. We can't wait. We're going to start planning our second one pretty quick, Smart Louis, because this was lots of fun. We want to build our audience. We want to get you guys involved. Again, Charles, from the bottom of our hearts, we are very grateful to you sharing your knowledge around this topic. This is what this show's all about. And I think I can speak for Louis when I say we are both very, very proud to have had you as our very first guest on the Audiophile Show.
Vinyl rules, and everyone spin those records. Sit down, turn the lights down, have a nice supper, and enjoy it with friends.
Love it.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thanks, all. We'll
Cheers.
see you next time.